Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Arkansas Energy Environment Meeting, June the 23rd of 2025. We're here today to listen to the salt works for the lithium. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over to the judge. First thing I want to do before I do that is thank SAU for letting us have this building today and entertaining us. Thank you very much. Turn it over to the hearing officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we begin, I will ask everybody assembled to make certain that their phones are either turned on vibrate or silent, preferably silent. And I'm also going to acknowledge our two special commissioners this morning or this afternoon, Commissioner Fritchie and Commissioner Norville. Both, again, have graciously volunteered to fill the gaps in terms of the two individuals or commissioners that have recused, Commissioner Weiser and Commissioner Lawson. I'll also remind folks that we will be accepting public comment at the close of the evidence in this docket. I've got 3 cards so far, but if you would like to make a public comment, please make certain that you do fill out a comment card. I'm not certain if the box is right directly in the back or if it's in the hallway, but we will be checking the box periodically and collecting cards. So if you haven't filled out a card yet, go ahead and do that if you would like to make a public comment. With that, first item on today's docket, docket number 035-2025-06, applicant of Saltworks LLC. Mr. Daly is the attorney of, both Dalys are attorney of record, and the subject is establishment of fair and equitable compensation for lithium extracted from brine produced from the pine brine production unit. Locations are multiple. County is Lafayette, Miller, and the pine brine is Field. I'm not certain which Daly would like to identify themselves for the record first, but we'll go with Daly Sr.
Is my mic live? I'm Thomas Daly, accompanied by Michael Daly as attorneys for Saltworks.
Thank you. Mr. Perkins, would you be so kind as to identify yourself for the record?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Alan Perkins, attorney for the South Arkansas Mineral Association.
Mr. Rankin?
Jim Rankin for South Arkansas Minerals.
And you have my former colleague, Mr. Reynolds, with you. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Robert Reynolds, president of South Arkansas Mineral Association.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Daly, why don't we go ahead in terms of getting the exhibit list introduced?
Judge Moulton, commissioners, the applicant has pre-filed certain exhibits, including an Exhibit H, which was handed to each commissioner this morning. I could read that to you, but I don't know that it's necessary. It enumerates the pre-filed exhibits, including the proof of publication and the affidavit of the mailing of notice. There will be one other exhibit, which is Exhibit I, which will be a printout and flash drive of the PowerPoint presentation, which will accompany Mr. Luaso's testimony. So at this point, I move the admission of all those exhibits listed on Exhibit H, including Exhibit H itself, as well as Exhibit I, which is the PowerPoint presentation.
The motion is granted. Your list of exhibits A through I are admitted. Please proceed.
If I may, commissioners, let me briefly recount the history before the commission of this matter. It began a couple of years before 2024, but the first matter that was brought before the commission specifically involving lithium extraction was order reference number 050-2024-09, which was the joint royalty application requesting the 1.87% royalty, which, as we're all aware, the commission denied. Subsequently, Southwest Arkansas Lithium, the Standard Lithium entity, as well as Saltworks, applied for the formation of units within which to produce brine and extract lithium. The Saltworks applications were 024-2025-04 or 024-2025 or 1-2025-04 and 2-2025-04, 1 being the unit formation and 2 being the integration of unleased parties, whose election has not begun to run, awaiting the adoption of the unit operating agreement. Finally, last month in 032-2025-05, Standard Lithium's entity, SWA Lithium, applied for and the commission unanimously approved a royalty rate of 2.5% based on the lithium carbonate equivalent of the final products produced, based again upon the fast markets spot market index enumerated therein. That unit, that Reynolds unit, is partially surrounded by this Saltworks unit. They have common borders on Saltworks North and Reynolds South, and also on the west end. It's our position that there is no meaningful distinction between the value of brine and brine rights in the two units. And so we are requesting a consistent royalty of 2.5%, in addition to the statutory royalty which is imposed on any brine production, which is currently $65.14 per acre. I have at least immediately a single witness, Mr. Remy Loiseau, who will take you through the specifics of the application and its justification. Ask that Mr. Loiseau be sworn.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Before I do that, Mr. Perkins, anything that you would like to add in terms of an opening? No. All right. Let me go ahead as well and take judicial notice about the statutes as well as the rules that are governing this proceeding, and I will go ahead and swear in your witness. Ms. Loiseau, would you be so kind as to raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Judge, just for the record, let me formally move the inclusion by reference of the applications, orders, and all other proceedings, including pre-hearing proceedings, in docket references 50-24-09, 24-2504, both as to its number 1 and its number 2, and 032-2025-05, the Reynolds unit application.
And Mr. Taylor, before you begin your examination of your witness, I just want the commission to be aware that Director York has hard copies of everything that you're going to see on your screen in case you need those. Just raise your hand, we'll pass them down. Go ahead, Mr. Daly.
Please state your name.
My name is Remy Loiseau.
And how are you employed?
I'm employed by ExxonMobil and also as a representative of Saltworks.
All right. Is it fair to say that at least here today, you are the Saltworks representative with respect to this application.
Yes, I am the Saltworks Lithium Area Manager.
If you will, please, take us through what you're prepared to show through the PowerPoint presentation, dealing with the justification and rationale and the specifics of the requested royalty.
Yes, thank you. Commissioners, thank you for your time today. I appreciate, as Mr. Daly highlighted, that there has been significant conversation and query and information presented through a multitude of hearings, so I'll attempt not to regurgitate those in too much depth and move forward with the basis of this proposal in recognition of that history, that consistency, and that precedence that exists there. So thank you again for your time today. So just to help bring perspective to where Saltworks is in its overall investment process and development of the Pine unit and in projects associated within that. We've done a significant level of pre-investment areas, whether that be through leasing, appraisal and drilling, subsurface analysis, size programs, testing, a lot of which this commission heard testimony on and evidence on in the formation of the overall development of the Pine brine unit. And that was one of the first key regulatory enablers, the creation of the Pine unit or unitization of that, and the determination and finding of profitability by this commission. We're here now at the next step of regulatory enabler, which is the establishment of a royalty for extracted additional substances, or lithium in this case, per Saltworks' plans. And those are key predecessors for us as we begin to continue to move on then into next phases of development in engineering and ultimately investment decisions, which would allow for project execution and operations and development. So just a key kind of metrics basis for the Pine unit. The Pine unit encompasses over 56,000 acres of development, a planned average daily production of 165,000 barrels per day of brine. Of note, about 40% of those mineral owners are Arkansan residences, and approximately 20% are those located in the counties of reference here in Lafayette and Miller County as well. We've spent a lot of time talking about direct lithium extraction projects and their uniqueness as it comes from development of brines and what it takes to ultimately take a mineral, a resource, brine with ions of lithium within that, develop that through major capital projects, through refining, through development, and ultimately conversion into specialty chemical products known as lithium carbonate equivalent products, whether that be lithium carbonate, lithium hydroxide, lithium oxide, and numerous other potential refined products. Developers here spend a significant amount of time, as I iterated, both on the front end pre-investment, but certainly as we bring to project considerations of value addition and technologies and capabilities and risk balance, as well as ultimately significant capital and know-how and intellectual property into taking what is a brine mineral resource and ultimately developing that into these specialty products. In that basis, the challenge that has been presented prior to this commission was identifying and developing a methodology that recognized the difference in the challenges of where markets are established and royalties are typically valued at the wellhead or at the point of extraction, and where markets exist that allow for comparative basis of value for specialty chemical products ultimately developed in part from that lithium production. Presented previously and adopted by this commission was a fair and a methodology that focused on the quantity basis, being the lithium carbonate equivalent produced, a price basis looking at market and index prices, which allow for fluctuation of the value based upon direct markets of comparable products that are developed from these brine resources. A royalty rate of 2.5% as proposed and adopted in the Southwest Arkansas unit in Hearing, and as well as proposed by Saltworks here today, and an allocation methodology which fairly distributes that amongst all of the participants across, in this instance, the Pine unit's 56,000 acres to ultimately pay a lithium royalty, which, as Mr. Daly highlighted, is in addition and uniquely because of the extraction of additional substances for lithium, and thereby in addition to the statutory brine royalty. Our proposal is based on that consistency with now Arkansas precedent established in docket 32, 2005-05, and with reference back as well to the original Tetra salts hearing in docket of 173, 2007-04. The Pine unit itself, as Mr. Daly highlighted, borders the Southwest Arkansas Reynolds unit and shares many common characteristics, including many shared common mineral owners with the Reynolds units. One of the strong benefits of the methodology this commission has adopted and applied on the Southwest Arkansas Reynolds unit is that it fairly accounts for unit-to-unit potential differentiation as it relates specifically to mineral or mineral contributed value. Things such as reservoir quality, which might be viewed as rock deliverability, concentration, neck thickness, in-place volumes, as well as unit size and production volumes of a potential development. All are factors which feed into the ultimate quantity of lithium carbonate products that can be produced and creates that unit-to-unit differentiation, but also consistency and balance based specifically upon the mineral's contributions to the overall development. So in that example, as the quantity or quality of mineral increases from a unit-to-unit basis, the royalty payment would increase and vice versa in the context. As highlighted, not only is this consistent with the Southwest Arkansas lithium hearing, but it is generally consistent with the docket methodology of the salts hearing with continued improvements, as we highlighted, both on the increased royalty rate and the establishment of a direct connection to lithium markets in its construct. That basis and rationale is further supported by global benchmarking and normalization of lithium royalty rates. A study by Ernst & Young provided a normalized view of those lithium mineral production and royalty equivalencies across what is acknowledged to be a complicated and diverse landscape of mineral development, lithium project development on a global landscape. A review of that showed that the median royalty rates range from approximately 2 to 2.48%. And in different views or snapshots of that, as this commission has reviewed and requested specific clarity on whether those are active production and producers at a median rate of 2.2%, of OECD-focused countries at 2.35%, and the proposal here from SaltWorks today at 2.5%, as well as consistent with that adopted on the SWA hearing. Beyond global benchmarking, regional benchmarking and perspective is very important. In Arkansas specifically, SaltWorks holds tens of thousands of acres of lease at 1.82 to 2.5% across Miller, Lafayette, and Columbia County, and those are included in the Pine unit, setting a strong recognition by mineral owners that this is a fair and consistent basis from whether it's been an active leasing and progression in prior hearings or under continued operations based off the guidance of this commission. Ultimately, it's our view that the SaltWorks proposal here today meets the intent and the definition of Arkansas' statute of fair and equitable. It's significantly aligned with the precedents and the consistency that this commission has established. It sets a methodology that is transparent, can be broadly applicable, and is market dynamic through the use of direct connection to index. It's proportional to resource quality and products produced, and thereby differentiation from unit to unit of minerals. It's reasonable within a range of global benchmarking. It's equitable in its consistency with Arkansas statutes and its OGC precedents. It differentiates and recognizes between substances produced and resources provided and specialty product values. And it balances on the overall contributions, risk, and value additions between mineral owners and developers, and seeking to bring forward and develop ultimately this type of resource to allow Arkansas's resources and developments to compete on a global scale, to enter the supply chain, and ultimately see the beneficial development of these resources for all involved. That is the extent of my presentation. I appreciate your time and thoughts on this, and we'll take any questions.
Questions for Mr. Loazo?
Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Judge. Before I start with that, and Mr. Daly, I'm not sure that he asked for any of those dockets to be incorporated. I assumed he wanted to. I think your application asked for that, but
I thought I read them all.
you read them. I'm just not sure you asked for them to be incorporated in the record.
I think I did.
Okay.
I did
but to the
and his
extent
motion
that I
to
didn't,
include-
I hereby do.
I'm fairly confident I granted your motion, Mr. Daly.
And I have one additional docket that I want to add to the list. It's docket number 083-2023-10. It was the initial Standard Lithium Lanxess application hearing.
If I hadn't already done so, Mr. Perkins, all the dockets both you and Mr. Daly referenced are made part of the record.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Wasso, I just have a few questions, some of which you won't want to answer, but I understand that. Can you tell the commission what the highest and best bonus and royalty paid in the unit was by Saltworks?
So those were part of our unit application and provision from the bonus structure and provided. As far as royalties, as I highlighted here in my presentation, 2.5% is the highest and best royalty paid within the unit.
Are you aware of any other operators or working interest owners paying a higher bonus or royalty on any particular leases that are located within the unit area?
I'm not aware.
Okay. Saltworks has stated in its application that it projects it will produce 18,100 metric tons of LCE per year from the Pine unit. Is that right?
That's correct.
So that makes me wonder, the Pine unit is 56,245.58 acres. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that production level of the 18,100 tons per year, is that some early phase of the project, or is that what Saltworks projects will be produced from the unit at full output?
That is our projection for our project for development of that unit.
Okay, so last month, SWA Lithium projected 22,500 tons of lithium LCE per year would be produced from phase one of their unit, which contained 20,854 acres. Can you give the commission any insight as to why the disparity in the amount of lithium that can be produced per acre from the two units?
I'm not going to comment on another operator's development plans. I will say that as heard by this commission in the unit developments and the subsurface definitions of those units, we believe we provided a very consistent basis of recognition of what the subsurface arguments are for the development of this unit, and view that this is what our most prudent and best development plan is for the Saltworks unit.
Saltworks has not submitted to the commission any feasibility study on the Pine unit, is that right?
No, we have not. Feasibility studies, as the example I assume you're referring to, is something consistent with what Standard Lithium has presented. Those are requirements of Canadian Securities Exchange companies, and that's not something specifically that Saltworks is bound by.
I understand. And Saltworks has not submitted any estimated profit and loss information for the Pine unit to the commission, is that right?
Saltworks has presented profit information as part of its profitability determination to this commission in prior hearings, and that was found and accepted by the commission.
So the little, 4 or 5 line table that just shows what you expect the production to be times the projected value of lithium, that's the extent of the information you provided to the commission about profitability of this unit, correct?
That's correct.
Why does Saltworks contend that it's better to use an LCE index price than actual sales data for calculating royalty?
So as our application highlights, we believe that provides a transparent basis on visible market indexes for pricing. We believe it protects proprietary and confidential information of what could be direct customer sales and agreements that have a proprietary nature to them or a competitively sensitive nature to them. And we also believe it fairly accounts for the differentiation between a variety of different specialty chemical products in recognition of ultimately what is the minerals contribution, not specialty chemical product additional value.
But the index won't be as accurate in terms of demonstrating what the actual proceeds are for this project as actual sales would be. You would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Ultimately, we're here establishing the value of the mineral and its contributions and the royalties to be paid as such, not the overall profits of our business and ventures.
That's fine, but that wasn't my question. My question was, the index price isn't as accurate as actual sales data in determining what the actual proceeds of the unit are. Do you agree with that?
To the overall proceeds of our business and ventures, that's correct.
That's all I have.
Mr. Daly, any follow-up?
Nothing?
Commissioners, any questions? Mr. Phillips?
What, in your first chart, you showed a pre-investment calculation, but you didn't give the number. Do you know what y'all's pre-investment is to this point?
That's not something I can fully and directly divulge, as that would be considered sensitive information relative companies, but it is a significant level of pre-investment, and I'll emphasize the word significant in bringing us to this point today. As I think we've highlighted and said before, we would not be here and invest as if we did not have a strong focus on developing these projects.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
The lithium has to be put in a compound or something to be sold,
That's correct.
and that's where the 2.5% royalty will be applied.
The royalty will be applied on that compound
Right.
product, a lithium carbonate equivalent.
And y'all will do that procedure yourself.
That's correct.
That's nothing you're going to outsource ever. You're going to continue to do that.
Our plan is to fully develop this into specialty chemical products ourselves.
So as the world turns, we know things changes. Just off the cuff, is there any possibility that you might ever sell it outside your facility that's not put into a compound to another customer that requests it to make whatever they want to make? I'm just asking, is that even possible?
There will always be a calculable lithium carbonate equivalent of any product that ultimately leaves a facility. So that's part of the strength of the methodology, I think, of this royalty proposal, is that it allows for, no matter what that product, that point of transaction, in other words, to be affected to, there's a calculable chemistry stoichiometric basis under which you can calculate the equivalent product.
So if somebody else was making something, they were running short on lithium, and they offered to buy it from you to make a carbonate out of, you wouldn't sell it to them raw and let them compound it?
That is not our plans today.
I would, and it wasn't a trap question.
Yep.
I'm just trying to process what might happen and how the royalty would be affected at that point.
And those exact contemplations of variety of different types of products, specialty derivatives, you see that in bromine industry today, and lithium industry, and a variety of these types of industries. It was exactly part of the thought process that went into the development of this methodology that's presented here and that the Commission has adopted, is recognizing that there are a variety of different types of products and things, points of that could occur. The industry as a standard uses lithium carbonate equivalent across the entire industry to do and account for just that when it comes to volumetrics and basis. And with that volumetric adjustment based off of those variety of differentiations, that then allows for a consistent royalty methodology to be applied that would
So you
continue
would
to
still
operate.
use the methodology that you were selling a carbonate even though you weren't? Is that what you're saying? So it wouldn't be, if you ever did trade it off, this thing's loud and echoing back. If you ever did trade it off, you would still calculate it as like it was a carbonate?
Correct.
Use the equivalent to get there, not 2.5% royalty of the actual sale, whatever you got for it.
That's correct. It would be that
Still
lit-
use the conversion,
You would still use the conversion of that
even though
lithium
you
carbonate.
weren't converting it. Is that right? Okay.
That's correct.
Any other commissioners? Based on a lot of questions from the commission, any follow-up from council? Mr. Daly?
No, sir.
Mr. Perkins? Do you rest, Mr. Daly?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Perkins?
I rest.
You rest? All right. With that then, any closing? Mr. Daly?
I'll say two sentences. This is fair and equitable, and the commission found it to be so in the SWA lithium hearing less than a month ago, and it will move this project forward for the benefit of all of Southwest Arkansas.
Thank you, Mr. Daly. Mr. Perkins?
That was 3 sentences. I apologize.
Thank you, Judge. I'll be brief. We've had quite a history leading up to last month and today, a learning process for everyone, a search for the right answer, and I'm not here to call that into question or to question your judgment, because ultimately your judgment is what matters. It's difficult to understand for me how we went from a hearing where we had a full feasibility study available, and yet that wasn't enough for the commission to make a decision, to where we are today, where we have a table with 3 or 4 lines and some very simple math. That math, by the way, if you compare the Pine unit with the Reynolds unit, if you make your calculations to determine how much per acre per year the royalty payout will be at the 11,000 per ton current price, in the SWA lithium unit, it's $396 per acre per year. In the Pine unit, it's $88.50 a year. That makes no sense to me, but without additional financial information, I can't determine why that is or why that would be. It's a much, much larger unit. But the commission has decided the type of information that it needs to make its decision. You have that information. I'm not going to beat a dead horse and tell you that other than we don't think that's fair and reasonable, and frankly don't believe that you've been provided sufficient financial information about this project to make an informed decision about whether 2.5% royalty is fair or not. And with that, I'll close. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. I've got a number of letters, both in opposition as well in support of the Saltworks proposal, and I'm going to go ahead and list them for the record, make certain that they are incorporated. First one I have a letter in support from Bodcar Bank, a letter in support from Lafayette County, a letter in support from Miller County, a letter in support from the Arkansas State Chamber, Randy Zook, a letter in support from the Arkansas Advanced Energy Association, a letter in support from South Arkansas Development Alliance, a letter in support from Mission Creek, a letter in support from the Texarkana Chamber of Commerce, a letter in support from the Venture Center Lithium Works, a number of objections, Stephen Givens, Pamela Givens, Dan and Polly Foote, F-O-O-T-E. Of course, Mr. Perkins and his client, Mr. Francis Dean Alexander, and an objection from BRP. And then I have 2 more, and I'm going to butcher this last name. 2 more objections, Debbie, D-E-B-I, Tietjen, T-I-E-T-J-E-N, and Tricia Larson. I don't know if I've missed any of those. Mr. Pilkington, have I overlooked any of the letters in support or objections?
We're getting you,
All right.
getting you an updated list, you're just saying.
I think I've covered them all, but if I've missed any, if somebody is out here that has sent a letter either in support or objection that I have overlooked, please raise your hand and we will get that up. Well, Director York has provided me with two others. One from Kelly Suter, Souter, from the Magnolia Community Development. And this one is a letter in support. And then I've got a letter in support from U of A Hope Texarkana, Laura Clark, the Vice Chancellor for Academics. All of those letters, either in support or in opposition, have been included into the record. I'm going over the list that Ms. Rainey just handed me. It looks like I've got everyone listed. So those are the letters that have been provided both in opposition and in support. And then I have 3 comment cards. One from Latuan Avetta. Is that individual present? Come on up, sir. Are you Mr. Whitby? Yes. Or, okay. Right. Yep, right there, if you could. Now, if that's too much of a burden for you and you need to sit down, you let me know, sir.
Okay.
But if you can go ahead and make your comment there, that's perfect. Why don't we go ahead and take that microphone out of the holder and you can hold it, sir.
Okay.
All right, sir, would you be so kind as to state your name for the record? We don't have as many public commenters today, so I don't have to truncate the time frame. I think the last time we did this, we gave everybody 3 minutes, but how about 5 minutes? Can you say your comment in about 5 minutes, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead and identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Latuan Whitby. This is my wife, Yvetta Whitby, and my oldest son, Tawan Whitby. And first of all, I just want to say ditto to Mr. Perkins and everything he said. And I truly object to everything Mr. Daly said. You know, I'm concerned about how can we trust him when he sat up here and told you all that he was going to say 2 lines and he gave you 3. But anyway, according to the report published via KARK June 19, 2025, there are serious concerns about groundwater use in the Arkansas that need to be addressed to ensure sustainable water resources for the future. If you can look at what Governor Huckabee done and what the Secretary Wes Ward, the Secretary of Agriculture, did, and look at the findings in their report, based on their findings outlined in the report, we demand that Saltworks be required to enter into a water mitigation agreement and a surface agreement individually. It is crucial that these agreements are established to ensure responsible management of the water resource and to protect our interests. We expect clear and commitment that to address the sustainability of the groundwater usage and the impact of our surface right that is essential for maintaining fairness and accountability. If we cannot audit Saltworks' financial records, how can we be sure that we are receiving a fair value? We want a percentage of their gross income, just like other states are receiving. We expect fair treatment and transparency in this process. We want the same enthusiasm, assurance that was presented by the representative from the university at your last hearing. She was all bubbly and happy. If funds are being allocated to their schools, we need to understand how is that investment going to benefit us directly. And last, our product contributes significantly, and we deserve to profit just as Saltworks will, and Mr. Daly. We do not want to be undervalued or overlooked in this arrangement. The amount for royalties based on what has been granted in other states is 20% from what we was looking at. Why are we in Arkansas always devalued and left with the scraps compared to every other state? It is essential that our interests are protected and that we are treated equitably. And we're going to trust you all because we were told just before we came into this meeting that they wouldn't allow us to audit the books, but you all could audit their books. So you all should be able to have some kind of number about what Mr. Perkins was asking about and asking for you all to do. Please make your vote on our best interest. We have children in our community. We have hospitals. We have schools. We have colleges that we want to prosper. We just don't want Saltworks and Mr. Daly to prosper. Please, I beg you all this day, let us prosper. Let the people in Arkansas prosper from their own resources in which they are given to Saltworks to make a benefit and a profit off of. Thank you. God bless each and every one of you. My prayers is that you make the right decision and give us a royalty that will benefit our families where we can grow and produce wealth, and not only Saltworks and Mr. Daly. God bless you and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whitby. All right, next card I have is Ms. Sasser. And ma'am, I butchered your first name the last time. I'm not even going to try again. Would you be so kind as to identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Venetia Sasser.
I would have got it right.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead, ma'am.
Okay. On behalf of Lafayette County Leadership Council, the Chamber of Commerce, and Walnut Hill Communications, I am offering a letter of support for Saltworks royalty application under docket number 035-2025-06. Lithium development represents one of the most significant economic opportunities Lafayette County has seen in generations. The growth we are beginning to experience is creating new jobs, attracting investment, and offering real hope for our young people and the families to build their futures right here at home. This is the kind of sustainable economic development that rural communities like ours have worked really hard for many years to achieve. The Commissioner's adoption of the 2.5 royalty rate for Standard Lithium helped establish a competitive framework that is already encouraging companies to invest in Arkansas. It is vital that the Commission now apply the same framework to Saltworks project to maintain the sustainability and the stability certain for this project to grow. Saltworks' proposal reflects a responsible approach that balances the interests of mineral owners, industry developers, and local communities. By adopting this proposal, the Commission will ensure that Lafayette County remains in the forefront of emerging industry with the long-term benefit of supporting not only the county, but the entire state. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, last card I have is Ms. Poncel. Am I pronouncing that correctly? And would you be so kind as to identify yourself for the record, please?
Good afternoon. My name is Anna Powell.
Powell.
Powell, yes.
Okay, that's not my fault. I'm looking at your handwriting.
Respectfully
I'm gonna ask the director here. All right, I'm sorry, ma'am. Please proceed.
Dear Director York and members of the Commission, on behalf of Hempstead County Economic Development Corporation, I am writing to express our full support for Saltworks LLC's royalty proposal under docket number 035-2025-06. The recent adoption of the 2.5% royalty rate for Standard Lithium has sent a clear and positive signal that Arkansas is serious about growing its position in the emerging lithium industry. With this foundation now in place, it is critical that we maintain this momentum by applying the same fair and competitive standard to Saltworks project. In Hempstead County and across southwest Arkansas, lithium development represents a once-in-a-generation economic development opportunity. This industry will bring new capital investment, create quality jobs, and drive growth for the many small businesses that support industrial operations. from equipment suppliers and contractors to restaurants and housing developers. The multiplier effect on our local economy cannot be overstated. By maintaining a consistent and competitive royalty structure at 2.5%, the Commission can provide developers and investors with the certainty they need to move forward, while ensuring that mineral owners and local communities receive a return. Delays or unnecessary changes at this stage risk slowing the process we have all worked so hard to build. I respectfully urge the Commission to adopt SaltWorks' proposal and allow Arkansas to continue building on the significant progress already made in establishing this vital industry. And that is also on behalf of Southwest Arkansas Development Alliance, representing 8 counties in Southwest Arkansas of economic developers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. If that's it for the cards that I have, anybody present that would like to speak either in opposition or in support to the SaltWorks proposal? For the record, I did not see any show of hands. With that, I will call the evidentiary part of the record to close.
Judge, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Remember,
Oh, I
I
apologize,
had
Mr.
mentioned,
Perkins. Yeah, would
so-
you be so kind as to read the
Sure.
letter from,
So
which one is
just
it
so you
again?
know, BRP.
Thank you.
Sent in a written objection, and they were going to be here to read it into the record, and
Please-
something happened,
please
they
proceed.
couldn't be here, they asked me to read it. With your indulgence, it's about 2.5 pages, but I'll read it as quickly as I can. Dear Commissioners, this letter is to serve as BRP LLC's objection to the proposed lithium royalty rate provided by the applicant SaltWorks LLC on May 30, 2025. BRP LLC requests that the AOGC reject the application as proposed and consider BRP's counterproposal. BRP LLC is a subsidiary of Natural Resource Partners LP. NRP is a master limited partnership headquartered in Houston, Texas, that owns over 13 million acres of mineral rights across the United States. NRP's primary business is leasing, management, and development of its mineral rights to mining companies, oil and gas operators, and various other natural resource developers. BRP has leased over 41,000 mineral acres that it owns in various counties across southwest Arkansas for the development of lithium. BRP has over 5,400 gross acres within the Pine Unit. BRP believes that the fixed lithium royalty rate of 2.5% fails to adequately provide fair and equitable compensation for the contribution of its mineral rights to the project. Assuming the accuracy of the information provided by the applicant in the Pine Unit application dated March 28, 2025 at Exhibit E, BRP calculates the applicant will have an internal rate of return of 28% for the Pine Unit well field. The application does not provide adequate financial information for a determination of what may be fair and equitable. In particular, the applicant does not reliably set forth the actual economics of its own project. The applicant further understates the likely revenues to be received by applicant from the royalty owner's lands. The market for lithium is a nascent market. By putting the royalty rate at such a low, flat percentage, there is a substantial likelihood the operator could realize dramatically higher rates of return with market price fluctuations. With such a low fixed royalty, the Commission would be enabling the operator to receive a massive windfall in the event of future market price increases at the expense of the actual owners of the lithium rights. A sliding scale royalty would reduce the likelihood of such a windfall. The Bryan statute does not entitle the producer to an entirely risk-free project or guarantee a particular rate of return subsidized by the lithium owners. More fundamentally, the Arkansas Bryan statutes do not clearly authorize such a serious reduction in royalty. BRP's understanding of the plain language of the Bryan statute is that A, the statutory definition of brine encompasses salt water and all other chemical substances produced with or extracted from such salt water. B, Section 1576.314H mandates that owners of unleased interest in a brine production unit, quote, shall be deemed to be the owner of the royalty interest equal to 1/8 of the value of his or her just and equitable share of the brine produced from the unit, and the royalty interest shall not be chargeable with any of the costs of the development and operation of the unit, end quote. C, Under the statute, just and equitable share of brine is defined as that part of the actual production of brine from the brine production unit or brine expansion unit that is in the same proportion to the total production of brine from the brine production unit or brine expansion unit as the interest of the owner in the brine of the brine production unit or brine expansion unit expressed in surface acres is to the total surface acreage of the brine production unit or brine expansion unit. D, Section 1576-314H does not differentiate between saltwater and, quote, other chemical substances, end quote, in fixing a 1/8 royalty on actual production derived from the unleased owner's acreage-based share of the unit. Section 1576-302-2A makes clear that such other substances are brine for purposes of the Section 1576-314H royalty. E, Section 1576-315C1 does not override Section 1576-314H's mandate that unleased owners hold a 1/8 royalty in their acreage-based allocation of actual production. Sections 1576-315 deals with the valuation of produced substances. Section C1 simply provides that the producer, quote, account separately and on a fair and equitable basis to each owner in the unit for all substances, end quote. This statutory mandate provides for a separate accounting of value for profitably extracted substances. It does not take such extracted substances out of the definition of brine under the statute or remove them from requirement of paying a 1/8 royalty allocated based on acreage as a share of actual production under Section 1576-302-9 and 1576-314H. Despite the fact that a deviation from the statutory royalty rate is not authorized for lithium as a component of brine, BRP LLC is willing to consent to a modified royalty rate in order to promote development of the project. Counter proposal. BRP believes that the most fair and equitable approach for a royalty rate should be an adjustable royalty or sliding scale where the royalty rates adjust LCE index prices change as those prices change. Since 2020, LCE index prices have varied from $9,000 a ton to $70,000 a ton. Because of this global volatility, Saltworks LLC and BRP LLC should share in the burdens of a bad market and the successes of a good market. As a counter proposal, BRP requests the Commission consider the following. 1, use the applicant's 2.5% royalty as the minimum royalty on LCE using the same LCE index and calculation as provided by the applicant. Number 2, adopt the sliding scale royalty table below. Not only is this proposal the most fair and equitable approach to help capture that market potential for the mineral owners, but it also aligns with the proposed royalty calculations structure presented by the applicant. And then there's a table with their sliding scale that shows less than $10,000 per ton, 2.5%, $10,001 to $15,000 per ton, 3%, $15,001 to $20,000 per ton, 3.5%, and greater than $20,001, 4.5%. If the above royalty structure is adopted, BRP would waive insistence on compliance with the statutory royalty requirement, reserving its right to address the impact of future changes in the economics of the project. Signed by Adam Clark, the regional manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. All right, before I actually shut down the evidentiary record and the commission begins its adjudication, they would like to take a break. Mr. Chairman, how much time does the commission need?
10 minutes, 15.
All right, we're going to go off the record for 15 minutes. We will reconvene at about 1:10, 1:15. We're off the record. All right, folks, could you be so kind as to resume your seats? Thank you. All right, we are back on the record. Does anyone else have anything else that they would like to add before I close the evidentiary part of the record down? Mr. Daly? Mr. Perkins, anything? All right. With that, I will call the evidentiary part of the record to a close. This matter is ready for adjudication. Is there a motion from the commission, or do you need any further discussion? Commissioners?
I make a motion, we approve.
Commissioner Wolford has made a motion to approve the application. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from the chair. All in favor, show of hands. Motion passes unanimously. Now with that, we don't have anything left on the agenda to address. We do have our meeting tomorrow in El Dorado, 9 a.m., is that correct, Director? At the El Dorado Oil and Gas Commission building. For those of you that want to participate in that, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Otherwise, thank you all very much.
And
For off the record.
this meeting is adjourned. Thank y'all.
I'll tell you last night.